Disney has surely put out a lot of movies, and I think it's time I start ranking some of them. Hello, my Star Giants. I am 26 years old today. I wanted to do a giant video review just for today, because that's what everyone does for their birthday, right? Every birthday of mine, I have ranked movies because I love movies. And now, I'm gonna rank all 60 films. Before, I only did top 10s of decades, but now, why don't we do 60 of them? Every Disney Canon film. Everything from Snow White to their most recent film, Encanto. And I gotta say, Disney has the most balanced films ever. Like, I'm ranking them also in a tier list situation. S, A, B, C, D, and F. And all of them have 10 films. Not like 10 amazing films and 10 horrible films, just that. I mean 10 bad, 10 perfect, 10 etc. Like, there are 10 films in each letter category. And that makes the Walt Disney Canon the most balanced animated film company ever. Now, I'm not going to talk about all of these films in depth. In fact, they're only going to be 1 to 5 minutes each. Maybe even shorter. This video is going to be over 2 hours long, man. So, let's begin. Raya and the Last Dragon is garbage, and here's why. Before I talk about the bad, I want to talk about the good. Despite this being the worst film of the canon, there's actually some good stuff in the franchise. Some. I like the Shrimp Kid Boone. He's the best and honestly should have been the protagonist. And the baby with the 3 monkeys is so cute. I don't care if they're a Minions ripoff, they're so fun and adorable. Could be despite their looks. The big guy was nice as well to see. And Raya can be good at times when she's not boring. Oh, and I love her pet armadillo that she has. Aw, he's so cute. And I love that when he gets old, he becomes an actual fun riding animal. Okay, that's all I got. Now, let's talk about the bad. Literally everything else that aren't those characters. I got a long list. Raya is the worst Disney canon princess for how bland and uninteresting that she is. At least all the other canon princesses give me something to memorize. This one is all just lore. And I think that the only reason why people even try to remember her is because she's the first gay Disney princess. That's not a good selling point. But even that is a stretch because her quote-unquote love interest is 10 times worse than her. Namaari is horrendous. I take back everything I said about Amity and Luz. Amity and Luz was healthier than this. Namaari is basically those kind of awful characters that you see that get redeemed and get no consequences for their terrible actions despite the fact that they would be arrested in the real world. Raya was right. There was no reason to redeem Namaari at all. I fucking hate the enemies to lovers cliche because it is extremely toxic. Namaari steals the dragon gem piece at the start that broke the world, is constantly trying to hurt and kill Raya for years, and also breaks everyone's trust and shoots Sisu. Why does Sisu think she's a good person? Oh, and of course Namaari has to be the one to fix everything at the very end. She even tried to run away. The gang is more or less saying, bitch, now you are the one that's gotta fix it all. But believe it or not, Namaari is not the worst character in the movie. No, that goes to Sisu herself. The worst comic relief ever. I mean, first of all, her quote-unquote comedy is just the genie from Aladdin, but you remove anything likable. I understand any non-Disney company ripping off Aladdin, like how Sony made the film Wish Dragon, but why would Disney rip themselves off? I honestly prefer the moose from Brother Bear over Sisu. I am not joking. Yeah, I said shut up. And I hate how this movie is animated. It really looks like every single 3D animated Disney canon film from the 2010s. The only one that it's not copying is Zootopia because that's all animals. Like, I'm not even trying to make a joke, I'm being dead serious. I could take a background character from Raya and one from any 2010s Disney canon movie, and you wouldn't be able to tell me what film that they are from. Oh yeah, that's another problem with this movie. It's two 2010s. Like all the bad aspects of the 2010s in one film. Yes, this was being developed in the 2010s, but that doesn't mean that you should follow cliches from the 2010s. Filled with lore that means nothing, attempts at character development, and inklings of LGBT content. The bad guys are mad that the good guys have the gem all to themselves, and the bad guys are in the right. Why does Heart have the gem? Why not divide it into 5? Yeah, we see later that the druid comes out, but we didn't at the start, so there's nothing stopping them. The worst part of the movie? Oh, how about the worst fake-out death ever at the end? Why did Sisu come back as well as the dragons? She could have been the perfect sacrifice to end the war and teach us about how we should not take things in life for granted so that they can be taken away in an instant. But nope, the quote-unquote mature movie ends with the most immature ending ever. And of course, all the people turned into the statues come back to life, because despite this movie trying to be more adult than the other films, this film ends up appealing to just 5-year-olds. I find it interesting that the only Disney Canon film to not air in theaters happened to be the worst Disney Canon film. Maybe next time don't write a character like Sisu, and anytime that Sisu tried to be funny, she would instantly ruin it with a terrible joke or two.
You're glowing. Oh, thank you. I use aloe and river slime to maintain
I find it funny that the worst Canon film and the best Canon film came out the exact same year. Comparing this to Encanto is like night and day. It's amazing how different the two are. Like, I really do want to do a full Raya animation review on Raya someday, and I will. But for now, we got 59 more films to do in this video, so let's move on. Brother Bear is still terrible, you guys. I think I covered as much as I really needed in my original top 10 worst anime movies of the 2000s video. Despite how dated that is now, I still think my Brother Bear points hold up. To make a quick summary for those that haven't seen it, I don't like Kenai as a character in the slightest. I get that he has to learn a lesson, but it's hard for me to really like him when he sees the fish fall to the ground and does nothing about it. How am I supposed to care for anything that Kenai does when he notices that he made a mistake and not fix it? Fix this part of the film, and I could honestly like the film more. And the moose are still unfunny.
Please don't eat us! You wouldn't like us, eh? We're really gamey! Yeah, eat hooper brains over there. Oh, nice, eh? Pine cone breath.
Their whole joke is, we're Canadian, eh? But what makes it this slow is the fact that they cut a deleted scene out. It was beautiful.
I did something very wrong.
What'd you do, Kenai?
I killed a bear. Your mother's not coming.
No.
I didn't know, Coda.
No.
They claimed that it was too mature for kids. No, it's not. I hate how this film fumbled it down with that stupid song. We were so close to a work of art. But it's at least not as offensive or immature as Raya, so I like Brother Bear more than Raya for those reasons alone.
Here I come to save the day.
So last year I was working on the top 25 best anime movies of the 1990s, and I was watching most of these films with my friend Yoda Jax 10. When I got to The Rescuers Down Under, I figured that since it was a sequel that I would need to watch the original, but Yoda Jax 10 said I could skip it. I was confused on why he would tell me to skip the original because it's a sequel. So I decided to watch the original and God kill me now! This film is just bad. It's got a lot of child abuse. That alone just makes it uncomfortable. The child abuse was better in the sequel, for that it was toned down and the film was goofier and funnier. Not in the original film though, way too realistic, which is ironic because there's alligators in this. This is also the ugliest film in the entire canon. Now, this is before knew how to do swamps. That film could make swamps appealing, but since this was decades before that film, it ended up being ugly. Hey, wait a minute, wasn't Disney World essentially founded on a swamp? There's a couple of funny scenes in the movie, but nothing worth watching. And I hate how the eyes are animated. And that's not a nitpick, that's actually something important. Don Bluth worked on this film, and he suggested a technique that could make the eyes white, but Disney said no, that was a terrible idea. Which is ironic because the sequel put the whites in the eyes. This though did cause Don Bluth to leave Disney, which is sad because he did a good job working at the company overall. This film is just awful. But this film doesn't have any bad redemptions or any deleted scenes that were cut that could have made the film better. So that's the only couple of reasons of why this film is better than Raya and Bitch Bear.
My God, I'm a tomato!
Bolt is just the rescuers, but instead of child abuse, it's animal abuse. I hate seeing that cat get constantly hurt. Who asked for this? The story is just Toy Story's Buzz Lightyear, but remove all the fun out of it. You know what? I agree with everyone else. If Bolt was voiced by a funnier person like Adam West, then this movie would have been better. If you can get Adam West for the two movies before this, Chicken Little and Meet the Robinsons, you can get him for this one. I mean, John Ratzenberger is in every single Pixar movie, so there's that. But this film is trying to rip off Shrek in the acting department. Shrek has a lot of popular actors. Now, this isn't the first Disney film to specifically do this. In fact, The Lion King, a film that came out before Shrek, was the first Disney Canon film that had a bunch of celebrities voice the entire cast. Both failed because the actors felt like they were done first before writing the characters. And as such, the characters don't look like the actors. Zazu looks like Rowan Atkinson, and I think that was an intentional decision. Hannah Montana is in this movie. This is what Disney does. They take live action actors from their shitty sitcoms and put them into animation, and it shows how bad they are. I highly doubt this has ever worked out once in their life.
I'm a human being, and I come from another world!
Wait, Anne from Amphibia was voiced by Brenda Song? That brat in Sweet Life of Zack and Cody?
Well, excuse me for trying to beautify the highway.
Huh, how about that? So you can't make actors from your shitty live action shows and put them into animation for good. Why doesn't Bolt do that? Anything else for the film? There's a CSX train. That's cool, I guess. The one line I remember from when I was a kid was this from the hamster.
That is totally unrealistic.
And of course, more cat abuse. Okay, I'm done. Don't make me watch these kind of movies ever again. I'm just gonna transform into boyfriend for Friday Night Funkin', and I'll have my girlfriend Ouija Slayer transform into girlfriend, and we'll be beeping and bopping for all of eternity, because anything is better than deal with both for another minute.
Well, excuse me, princess.
So throughout this entire list, I'm gonna be shit-talking Jeffrey Katzenberg. Not because he's a terrible person, but he made a lot of terrible decisions at Disney. One of the first bad decisions that he had was with The Black Cauldron. It was originally going to be a PG-13 film, showing off Disney's edgier side. But then this guy here, decided at the last minute, without telling anyone else, edited 95% of the film, and watered it down for children. This film has a lot of problems, and sadly for most of these films, I can't get my 100% full opinions due to time restrictions. So maybe someday I'll go more in-depth with some of these other films like I said, but not for now. Where do I start with this one? I guess we'll go ladies first! You know, that's how the saying goes, right? Princess Ilonli is technically a Disney princess, but all I'm saying is that you're not gonna see her in Ralph Breaks the Internet with the other princesses. She's bland and boring. Gurgi has the worst voice for any character in Disney history. There are worse characters in Disney out there, but I can't name a single character with a worse voice. Gurgi sounds like if Gollum and Fishy Boopkins had sex with each other and had a child that got cancer. And he's an asshole! Especially with the scene of the apple. He takes Taran's apple, but only gave it back to him after he took a bite.
Oh, poor miserable Gurgi deserves fierce smackings and whackings on his poor tender head.
But the worst character of the film is Taran. Taran, I don't give a shit.
I'm a warrior.
It's funny, the stereotype of the 2010s was, I'm a woman that needs no man, and then the woman needs a man. But it could probably start with this piece of shit, even though it is a man and not a woman. He constantly claims to be a warrior, but then he is absolute shit doing this. This is basically almost all the problems of 2010's animation in one film. Hygarian Spice is a better show at showing those problems, and we'll be talking about that show this Thanksgiving. And Raya is a better film at showing the problems of the 2010s, but The Black Cauldron more or less created those problems. Nobody was affected by this at first because it was a financial failure, but someone in the 2010s thought this was a good idea and we're only fixing those problems now.
Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair.
Tangle is garbage. Okay, I have a lot to say and not a lot of time, so let's simplify. I hate Mother Gothel. I can ignore that whole controversy on the Jewish part because it's not entirely relevant per se. Do research to understand what I'm talking about. Anywho, she's just not funny or interesting, and gives me my own parental problems, and not done in a good way. But she has the exact same problems as Frollo. In fact, she's Frollo's Rule 63 counterpart. Too dark and just uninteresting. But at least Frollo had like the song. Hellfire is still better than Mother Knows Best. Mother Gothel doesn't know whether to be more comical or serious.
You want me to be the bad guy? Fine. Now I'm the bad guy.
In fact, that's actually a problem with the film as a whole. This film doesn't know what kind of movie that it wants to be. Like, is it supposed to be a parody? Or is it supposed to be more traditional like past Disney fairy tales? It's like that one scene of Rapunzel saying, "Best day ever," or "I'm gonna die, I need to go home," over and over and over and over and over and over again. Or how about even just the opening? At first it feels like the opening to something like Beauty and the Beast, but then throws in a line that feels like something out of a parody like Shrek.
All right, you get the gist. She sings to it, she turns young. Creepy, right?
I kind of like this movie more the way that I accidentally watched it. So I didn't watch this film when it first came out because my interest in animation waned at that point. So I watched it in my Spanish class in 9th grade and I was late for school that day. So I came in 10 minutes into the movie. And honestly, my fuck up made the movie better. Because it made for a better suspense. So yeah, the way that I watched it as a kid was better. And also, really? Eugene was brought back to life with her tears. I get it. It was like the last of the sun drop and that crap. But it's still reminiscent of Pokemon, the first movie with Ash and the Pokemon. No matter how you look at it, Eugene was brought back to life with Rapunzel's tears.
Really?
Also, it's another death fake out. And I still really hate the cartoon. And someday I will talk about it. Count your blessings, Cassandra. Your days are numbered.
Oh, that's ugly.
I hate The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Yes, it was on my best list last year, but since then, I thought about more and I'd rather not be reminded of the times that I was in church or my own child abuse that I went through. Thankfully, it's not as bad as The Rescuers, but based on some of my own personal life experiences is why Hunchback is lower, because I know people will be pissed unless given proper context. It's not as bad as the pointless lore in Raya and many shitty 2010s cartoons, but I do not care about being depressed. I hate watching live-action dramas that my mother watches, and this kind of reminds me of those. Ironically enough, people hate the gargoyles in this movie, but I think they're the best part. It's still idiotic that people think that it's best to remove comedy altogether. Good comedy always makes things better. If you like this film, that's fine, but I'm not gonna care for this film anymore because the last couple of years of my life were the worst years of my life. Give me lighthearted stuff that's good and fun any day. And yes, I'm one of the very rare people that thinks the sequel is unironically better.
I despise that chicken.
So I don't really hate this film as much as most people, but yeah, it's still bad. Let's talk about the bad first. Butt Cluck sucks. There's no reason why this dad, who's been a father for years, would not know the basics of having a son. They give some lip service because he's a newly single dad.
Oh, Chloe, if only you were here, you'd know what to do.
But it's a show don't tell situation where I just don't care. I can't care because he's been a single father for over a year and yet he still sucks.
You gotta be ready to listen to your children, even if they have nothing to say.
And the townsfolk are all assholes to Chicken Little for over a year. Why would anyone find it appealing to abuse an innocent child for over a year? But I think this film is fun to make fun of. Like, it's a -1 out of 10. And it's fun to poke at some of the stupid world building holes like the driving fish. All this also does is make me appreciate Zootopia's world building more. If I had anything positive to say about Butt Cluck is that he actually does learn his lesson, which is actually a good thing to actually become a better father. But it's the exact same problem I have with Inside Out, where the character waits, I want to say too long for it. Yeah, that's actually a good point. Joy waited years to learn a lesson and Buck did the same thing. It's so stupid that the first film is about baseball and the second film is about aliens. And don't you dare tell me that it's the same film the whole way through. You might as well just say it's two different movies combined together. Winnie the Pooh's 1977 trilogy had a better connection than the first and second half of Chicken Little.
Boo! Pick a plot line!
Kirby is adorable and kind of saves the film for me. Aw, he's so precious. The fat pig is obnoxious, the pop songs are cliche and very out of place. The porcupine, I think, was Disney trying their hardest to make a meme but failing to realize how memes work. Then again, after 2022, anything can become a meme. So maybe someday that porcupine will be an actual meme. I can definitely understand the hate for this one. I hate it as well, but I just think there's worse out there. The video game baseball scene was the only legit unironic good thing about Chicken Little as a whole. The best thing about Chicken Little wasn't in the Chicken Little movie. It was in a video game. That is very, very sad. I loved this movie when I was a kid. I was a stupid child! Man, man, I didn't want to hate Dinosaur. I wanted to put it on the D tier so that I could be all like, behold, the dinosaur starts with. But no, it's a F tier film, mostly because nothing happens. Well, the first 10 minutes do make this film look promising. The Carnotaur eating the Triceratops, seeing all the dinosaurs traveling by the egg, and the set pieces really do look nice. Hell, I still think they look gorgeous over 20 years later. You could probably use the opening part of the pterodactyl flying over the dinosaurs and the ocean as the opening of a Monster Hunter video game. The problem, however, is when the animals start speaking. Excuse me, this movie is called Dinosaur. Why are there lemurs in this movie? Are lemurs dinosaurs? No. Okay, did they exist with dinosaurs? Not even that. Alright then, I'll play fair. Are they at least funny? Nope, 3 strikes, you're out! These lemurs are complete garbage and have no purpose to this film. They shouldn't even be in this movie. What hurts this film is that it feels more like a tech demo than an actual movie. And this tech demo would basically inspire Disney's most profitable 2010s movies, i.e. the shitty live-action remakes. Actually, what hurts this film is how everything is ugly. The only Disney film that was uglier than this was The Rescuers. But at least that one didn't try to be ugly. This movie takes place mostly in the desert. I do not like deserts as set pieces. In fact, they are the worst set pieces ever. The Prince of Egypt and Aladdin look good in a desert because they made themselves look colorful and not look like a real-life desert. This movie tried to be as realistic as possible. That's why all the landscapes are photorealistic. Do you want to stare at sand? So much sand. No, you don't. You know what could have been more interesting? A carnivore being raised by herbivores and learned not to eat meat, and teaching other carnivores that they don't have to eat meat to survive. I know that sounds like a Kimba plot, but I never saw it done with dinosaurs before. Anything would have been better than this. I should feel sad when the lemurs lost their home and many of their family members, but I can't because of this guy.
What you need is a little help from the love monkey.
Kristoff getting advice from the love expert rock trolls made more sense than this. While the other lemurs are kind of tolerable, Zini is just the worst. I never even realized that was his actual name. I had to look it up while writing the script to find out. Now I want him to die. All he does is slow this already slow movie down even further and annoy me. He just pisses me off. The only line from this movie that I remember otherwise when I was a kid was this one.
That, children, is what's known as a Jerkosaurus.
I loved this movie as a kid, but I honestly can't figure out why anymore. Also, why is there one dinosaur that's like a dog? There's this dinosaur with these 2 elder women dinosaurs that follows them like a dog. Every other dinosaur that we saw in this movie acts and talks like a human, unless they're meat eaters, but he's an Ankylosaurus, and they don't eat meat. What makes him different? Is this an inside joke that no one is supposed to get? To give this movie credit, there is one good thing about it, and that would be the soundtrack. I can't really play it because of Disney copyright, but I do want to bring this little segment up from the Travel Egg song, which is the best song of the film. Did you know the Wild Thornberrys movie would use this song in their trailer as well? Yes, a Nickelodeon/Viacom/Paramount movie. Oh shit, I just realized the script was written before Paramount changed its name and they were still called Viacom CBS. Wow, this video was in production for a very long time. Anywho, the Wild Thornberrys used a Disney song.
Does your sister talk like a monkey, dressed like a gig? Yeah, you get used to it.
He stuck a dung beetle up his nose.
What a good thing with dinosaurs. You watched the BBC documentary on it that came out a year before this in 1999. That was more entertaining, educational, and intense. It's my favorite dinosaur thing ever. And maybe someday I'll give this a future Ryan animation review because I enjoy it that much. The Walking with Dinosaurs documentary. Not the actual dinosaur film. Like, the dinosaur film. It's stupid. As for Dinosaur, The Emperor's New Groove should have been the 2000 film to get almost $350 million. Not dinosaurs. This film is as extinct as the actual dinosaurs.
All hail King Artie!
Oh boy, I didn't want to put this in the F tier, but Sword in the Stone is garbage. Sword in the Stone was the last film that Disney made when he was still alive. Technically, he worked on The Jungle Book, but that didn't come out until after he died. Same thing with the other film, The Aristocats. He approved it, but was dead before it came out. And you can definitely tell that Walt was showing his age with this one, so I don't want to fully blame him for everything. It's just more natural like this. When you get older, you do tend to lose some skills. Why don't I like this movie? Besides it being very boring, it's a film that doesn't know what to do with itself. It feels more like a bunch of television episodes put together, but television series weren't a thing yet when this came out. So of course that was out of the realm of plausibility. I'm talking like big series for the record. I like the villain Mad Mim. I would have liked her more if she was more into the movie. Like, why is she only appearing at like the last 15 minutes of the film? The rest of the film is Wart just doing some random magical bullshit with Merlin and then pulling the titular sword. Like, the sword is the very last thing in the movie, and it's the only time that it references the title. Walt should have had a healthier schedule and more advisors before his death. You know what? I don't want to talk about Walt Disney being dead anymore. Let's get out of the F tier and move on to the D tier. The Disney tier, if you will. That's what a lot of people say, even though I really love Disney, so it'd be like A tier for me. Or even S tier for me.
The pack is back! Ghost jumping!
You know, the more that I watch Wreck-It Ralph, the less that I end up liking it. Every time that I watch it, I notice a new problem each and every time. For example, on my most recent watch through of this, the coin makes no sense.
It's not a coin. It is a medal.
Coin, medal, whatever.
How does Ralph win a coin from a different game that Penelope uses in this racing game where the coin is not from still allow her to qualify? This isn't a nitpick. This is a major plot point.
You know, if I didn't know better, I'd say you were reciting some sort of an important plot point.
And why do the people in Ralph's world hate Ralph? Ralph isn't some villain. He's doing his job. If he doesn't do his job, then they will get unplugged and oh yeah! That almost happens in the film! You're telling me that Ralph gets no respect when the arcade closes? If this was in the real world, that'd be like an actor playing a villain or an actor playing a Nazi for something and real people treating that at face value. And then I remembered that actual humans in the 2010s sadly had that thought process. If anything, the people in Ralph's video game should have been the ones to learn a lesson. Not Ralph himself. Ralph is bad because that's just the way of the program. It doesn't mean that that is what has to happen behind the scenes. Can't he, like, have friendships behind the scenes? That scene of him and Felix bonding should have been more than just that one scene. I do like a lot of the video game references in this movie, everything from Dig Dug to Sonic, and I do enjoy Sugar Rush's environment. And hey, a good twist villain. Probably the only good Disney twist villain in the entirety of the 2010s, because King Candy was evil before we knew that he was Turbo. But I find the story cliche at best and confusing at worst. It's tolerable, which is at least what makes it a D-tier film over a F-tier film.
Jeepers! I'm a furry!
I was not that big of a fan of this one. Anytime it focuses on the cute cat stuff with Oliver, I enjoyed. When it focuses on the poor guy with the dogs, I wasn't invested. I just saw this movie a couple of months ago for the first time ever for this ranking list, and yeah, I'm already forgetting everything about it. I mean, I did like the song.
Why should I worry? Why should I care?
But that was like it. I don't really remember much elsewise on the film. Oh, and then there's this dog named Georgette that feels like a furry made it. Just look at how the movie animates her. I'm not the only one that sees this, right?
Each little step above.
Oh, my can. Of course I'm not. It's Disney. I do really enjoy the parts of Oliver and Jenny, and I think the movie should have just focused on that, instead of having Oliver catnapped. Yes, Pagan does learn his lesson and stop the villain Sykes, but it just wasn't that fun to watch.
1, 2, and 3 goes, we're always together.
Okay, so the package films don't give me much to say, so let's do it super quick. Cool documentary on South America, but not the best story.
He likes to pretend that I'm a giant.
Pretend? It's just Jack and the Beanstalk, but with Mickey Mouse, nothing special.
Show me your moves.
Nice dancing. That's all I got. Johnny Appleseed in Disney form. That's all I got. It was alright.
I couldn't think of a dance, I panicked.
I like the Toad stuff, but it just felt too short for me to be truly invested. Birds dance to music. And that ends the package films. Here's a movie about a cute dog doing cute little adventures. Like learning about the world around her, growing up, dealing with racist cats, all that sort of jazz. Wait, I think the last one doesn't seem to fit. Anywho, you know this movie because it has that famous spaghetti scene in animation. Yes, it originates from here. There's really not much else to say. I saw this film when I was a child, saw it on VHS, didn't think much of it since. Same thing now and here.
Santa made her Little Mermaid Moana.
Moana is a movie. That's all that I really got to say about it. I only really ever care about this movie because I watched this YouTuber named StarGiantProductions, and he's the tomato crab for the icon. And I thought that maybe this was a really good film. Just like how I love Kim Possible a lot convinced me to rewatch the show Kim Possible a lot. And that show ended up being amazing, like in my top 10 favorite cartoons of all time. Sadly, I can't say the same for Moana. It's alright, but I feel like it was just following a lot of Disney cliches. Not as much as Raya or even Frozen, but something that didn't feel worth my time. Why is the chicken in this? The pig would have been a better comic relief. Moana just follows a lot of Disney cliches and doesn't really subvert them, making her the blandest Disney princess. It's a road trip movie with the princess wanting more with her pet animal sidekick. It's just average.
Among his proudest achievements was the full-length musical Scratch-tasia.
I don't know what it was about Fantasia, but I just found it okay. It was one of the first films I have ever watched, and I can kind of see why I didn't watch it a lot in my youth compared to Snow White and Cinderella. It was boring. I like the parts of the dinosaurs and Mickey. The rest is just fluff and outdated racism. Although I don't blame you if you don't know about the racism, because the version that I watched did not have the original terrible centaurs. That's only in the original version. Sunflower was removed in 1969, and thank you for doing that, Disney. You shouldn't have had that shit in the first place.
Big Hero 6 out of 10! Oh!
When I turned 18, the first film that I got to see in my adulthood was Big Hero 6. And I watched this film with 3 friends of mine. This was the first time that I ever saw a film without a family member of mine. And for some reason, we were the only ones in our theater, despite us being at a popular theater opening night for the film. And it was around a time where a lot of people usually see movies. So it was weird, just us 4. We all had fun and even pretended to be each of the heroes in this. I pretended to be Fred because I considered myself male back then. Also, he had these cool fire powers and Stan Lee as his dad.
I wear 'em front. I wear 'em back.
Dad!
And I bring this all up because the experience with my friends is a lot more fun and interesting to talk about than the actual Big Hero 6 film. This movie is very boring to me and not the greatest thing ever. Baymax is pretty awesome, but that's pretty much it. Heroes' dark stuff isn't all that fun, and the 4 teens in the college are unmemorable. I know Wasabi, and I know that one of them has Stan Lee for their father, Fred, but I don't remember like the girls' names. Oh, that one girl is called Go-Go. Okay. And the other is Honey Lemon. That sounds like a Jersey Shore name.
Fred is the one who comes up with the nicknames.
I don't care. But that's all that I really know about the film without looking anything else up. Callahan is a stupid twist villain. He's definitely better than Hans, but I just don't care for him. All I really care about is Baymax. Oh, and speaking of Baymax, I took a look at those new Baymax shorts that aired earlier a couple of months ago. You know, the one where idiots threw a hissy fit on Twitter because Baymax talked about periods to a 12-year-old girl.
Getting your period is supposed to be huge. It means I'm different now.
Your body may change, but you will always be you.
Despite him talking about it in a healthy and mature way that all girls will go through, they were good. In fact, I loved them more than the actual movie itself. Aw, Baymax is so adorable. It was dumb for people to rant about this on Twitter. It was a stupid steak.
That steak was bullshit.
We won't let those fuckers take this land!
Pocahontas is probably the most overhated Disney movie, but unlike some other films like Ralph Breaks the Internet and Home on the Range, I kind of understand the hate for this one. This film was supposed to be the film to make bank for Disney. It did not. This was Disney's A project, while The Lion King was their B project. If you aren't in the know, what happened is that Disney at the time, you know, the early 90s, had 2 teams of animation. One was for The Lion King and one was for Pocahontas. Pocahontas was supposed to be the big epic thing, while The Lion King was supposed to be some sort of side dish or side project. The Lion King ended up being better, both financially and critically. Pocahontas was hated from the start, which is strange because I think this is actually a fun film overall. Granted, it's not as good as The Lion King, but I still like it. I think the music is actually pretty good, from the War song to the Colors of the Wind.
Coming for me, all the colors of the wind.
And I love the Native American joke.
Why do you think those insolent heathens attacked us?
Because we invaded their land and cut down their trees and dug up their earth.
Actually, I just love Wiggins overall.
I made it myself.
And Miko is so cute. I have a lot of fun with him. But the last thing that I want to bring up is to debunk a theory that's been going around. A bunch of people think that Native Americans would not like this movie, but in reality, actual Native Americans, including descendants of the real Pocahontas, were fine with this. They actually looked over the film as a whole for pointers. Even Chief Politan's voice, the late Russell Means, served somewhat as a consultant on how to properly represent Native Americans.
I'm a man.
I'm gonna play you a funny line from Radican himself to showcase why The Great Mouse Detective is a great movie.
He is not afraid of a big, ugly rat like you.
Kindly sit down and shut up!
Need I say more?
In the future, entertainment will be
burning in hell.
Meet the Robinsons is a wonderful movie. It's one of the very few Canon films to make me cry. Louis tries his hardest to find his mother, but he never does. And damn, that part of Wilbur revealing that he lied to Louis. Oh man, just to find the time machine about finding Louis's mother.
Can I at least go back and find my mom? Wilbur promised.
I was never gonna do it, I swear.
You lied to me?
No. Yes.
I can't believe I was dumb enough to actually believe you were my friend.
That part really gets me. This movie, it's just so beautiful. Wait, why is it so low then? Oh, right, that angle. I'm not the biggest fan of the comedy of this movie, and the story in itself was not the best. Some time travel alone doesn't make any sense. Adam West only has like a line or two. Boris was not that interesting of a villain. I really feel like this should have been a television show, and this movie here would have been the pilot. It would have been something like Jimmy Neutron or Barnyard, because it begs to be a television show. And with Disney making so many shows nowadays and even bringing back old franchises, they might as well try this again. But I get why Meet the Robinsons didn't get a television show. This film didn't do so well at the start. This came right after Chicken Little. And while that did turn a profit, Disney as a whole wasn't doing so hot at the time. If it wasn't for Pixar, who knows, they might not have been around in the 2010s. But there is still some good stuff here. The bowler hat guy is a brony. That's just extra funny to me considering what I know about bronies now. Maybe someday I'll talk more about this film, but for now, we gotta keep moving forward.
His mother dies.
I always found it weird that I saw Bambi as a little child, but never really got to see it again until I was an adult. It's aged weirdly to me. Bambi's mother's death isn't as good in today's world for two reasons. One, The Lion King did the parent's death better by seeing the dead body and the child show an interaction with it. And two, after Bambi's mom dies, there's a weird transition that happens. The first time that I saw that, I was dumbfounded. Like, I was not expecting it to go like that because that's just stupid to me. The sequel does fix this a little bit because it adds the information needed for Bambi that was just randomly left gone. Did you know that Walt Disney's daughter did not like Bambi's mom dying? Kind of interesting to find out. The fire scene was pretty cool as well as the deer fight. That's pretty much all I got to say for this one. Also, Thumper to me looks like he's from Snow White. I'm not the only one that thinks this, right?
Now where are my damn crows?
Dumbo is about a cute babu elephant doing silly adventures trying his best to get back to his nice mama. People only really seem to talk about this film because of the Jim Crow. And yes, that is definitely a problem.
Hey, look here! Brother Rat. Brother Rat? Now listen, I ain't your brother and I ain't no rat. Good news. What's frying, boy?
But I just care more for the rest. I love the pink elephants, but it's not as good as Alice in Wonderland. Well, at least this point in time realized that the avant-garde genre was dying out and that future animations couldn't live on just that. So he needed to start telling actual good stories because he couldn't really do that during World War II for obvious reasons. It's still a good movie, even if it hasn't aged the best. I still prefer it over the live-action remake any day, even if that doesn't have the racist crows.
Dumbo. Dumbo. I got it! I got it!
When you wish upon a star, you get lots of stuff!
Pinocchio is the best stranger danger PSA that I have ever seen. It's up there with Winnie the Pooh's private parts. This movie is about a child getting tricked by strangers to go to a place where kids could get candy and all sorts of goodies called Pleasure Island. You cannot tell me that this isn't a PSA on the dangers of child abduction.
They never come back as boys.
Did you know that Pleasure Island was gonna be called Booby Land? Boob. Pinocchio is a fun movie to make fun of, and this was literally the second anime movie that I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, people love to call this not that great, but honestly, I just had a lot of fun with it. Especially with the things not allowed in children's animation today, like the doll of the mom smacking her son's ass, and of course...
Go on, laugh! Make a jackass out of yourself!
I wasn't even 1 year old when I saw this. I was 0.
I'm diddly day, and night just life is gay. Do you want deep dish or pan? Bring me pan!
Peter Pan is a movie where I didn't grow up with it, but for whatever reason, I watched the sequel first because it was new at the time. And my mom thought that was what Peter Pan was supposed to be. Or maybe it was my church that did. I don't know. But this movie is still good. I know that people only talk about this movie nowadays because of the Native American racism.
What makes the red man red?
Which is bad, and it's not Indians for the record. But if you get past that, it's still a somewhat fun movie. I love the joke of Wendy getting rid of the smoke pipe from Michael. Think about I actually enjoy it, didn't hate her like the rest of the internet. The kids in the animal costumes are cool. I love Captain Hook and all his ploys. And of course, Mr. Smee, I remember being a delightful character. My favorite joke with him is when he is with the sneeze from Hook and the rowboat scene.
The poor captain has a splitting headache. We mustn't annoy him.
My case of hooks!
Aye, aye, sir.
Did you know that Bill Thompson, the voice of Mr. Smee, is not only the voice of the White Rabbit from Alice in Wonderland, but is also Droopy Dog?
You know what? You cheated.
Oh, that reminds me. June Foray is in this.
Oh, get him firewood.
Oh, she.
Huh?
Did you know that June Foray was in the Canons as early as Cinderella playing Lucifer? And her last film in the canon was The Grandmother from Mulan. That's half a century of Disney right there. And the crocodile is a delight. I think his name is TikTok?
TikTok, kid.
I was frozen today.
Oh my god, Hans is the worst Disney villain ever! It just occurred to me on my most recent watch through of the film that he could have easily won if he did the exact same thing that Luigi does in order for him to win at Mario Party. Nothing. Hans wants to rule a kingdom, literally any kingdom.
As 13th in line in my own kingdom, I didn't stand a chance. I knew I'd have to marry into the throne somewhere.
Then just do it! If you marry Anna, you would win! And you state that you also want Elsa dead?
I figured after we married, I'd have to stage a little accident for Elsa.
You literally had a chance earlier in the film! There was a part where one of the Duke's henchmen was about to kill Elsa with a crossbow. Hans could have just pretended that he couldn't reach Elsa in time to save her. He could even claim, oh, the ice was just too slippery. That would have made sense and have been the perfect crime. Nothing that Hans does makes any sense in the movie, and every motivation is hypocritical at best and dumb at worst. At least when it came to the other two twist villains from Disney in the 2010s, they at least had interesting plot lines, or at least their motivations actually made sense, even if they weren't good characters. Hans feels like a last-minute draft. It's like the movie was a couple minutes too short, so they made him a villain just to fill in runtime. Yes, Elsa was originally supposed to be the villain of the film, but just because you change something at the last minute doesn't mean you just change one thing and that's it. When you change something like that, you gotta do multiple drafts. The Duke of Weselton was honestly a much better candidate. The actor for him, Alan Tudyk, played the villain in the previous film. Yes, if you're wondering, he was King Candy in Wreck-It Ralph. I don't know why he couldn't play the main antagonist again. What? Is there a rule now that no actor can play the main antagonist twice in a row? If you wanted to go with the notion that True Love's Kiss would fail, why not just do what Enchanted did? That movie showed a better version of falling in love. That film still celebrated what made Disney films good without being embarrassed of being part of Disney. It was also subversive, but in a much better way. I never really talked about Frozen on my channel before, which surprises me because it gives me a lot to talk about, despite it being an average film. C tier, a 5 out of 10. It's got a lot of great stuff. Anytime that it focuses on Anna, Kristoff, Sven, and Olaf, I have a lot of fun, and they do make up a good core of the movie, so that's great. And the songs are nice for the most part.
Let it go.
Becky, please, not right now. This video is long enough as it is.
Aw, but I love
the Frozen songs.
Sing them with your Auntie Dashie, please.
Okay, Mommy, but I'm singing these songs with you once this video of yours gets uploaded onto YouTube.
Understood. Yes, Let It Go sucks. While it sounds nice, it's got a terrible moral. Elsa is dodging her responsibilities and not even caring how her sister is feeling, especially after telling her to leave the castle! No joke, by the way, when we watched this movie, I accidentally forgot which sister is the oldest because of that. Love is an Open Door and Summer are the best songs. The Ice song is eh. Do You Want to Build a Snowman is kind of annoying. Does anyone even like the troll song? But this film, of course, has problems. Besides Hans, which is definitely the worst part of the film, it follows a lot of Disney cliches, which is ironic because this claims that it subverts them. It's got a fake-out death. Well, not as bad as Raya. There is no way that the gang was on a ship in the harbor like that. I just realized that the parents in this movie are kind of bland. I think the sequel fixes them. In this one, they only come in when Elsa has an ice problem. Oh, and why do they decide to lock everything up and keep Elsa away from everyone? That's not what the Rock Troll King said.
I recommend we remove all magic, even memories of magic, to be safe. Don't worry. I leave the fun.
The Rock Trolls still want communication with Elsa and for her and Anna to have fun with each other. Not locked up away forever in separate rooms! Why is there no one in charge of Arendelle? Anna leaves Hans in charge when she leaves, but who gets to be in charge when Hans leaves? I just rewatched this film last month for this review, and I only just noticed this problem now. This film claims to subvert Disney cliches, while at the same time not realizing that it follows a lot of Disney cliches. It's trying to have its cake and eat it too, but it can't because it's Frozen.
Was that a pun?
In some way, this kind of reminds me of Equestria Girls, not just because they both came out in 2013, but because they're both things I have a lot to say on, and I both love them / hate them at the exact same time. Also, they made a bunch of changes in my life on how I view animation, or maybe because people claim that I'm like the real-life Sunset Shimmer. That could be it.
Is something you don't hear every day?
Oh wait, they actually also claim that I'm the real-life Starlight Glimmer.
That's not a particularly compelling argument.
Works for me. Let's finish up Frozen. Like I said, I'm willing to do any of these films as a right animation review in the future. And this just might be another one that I want to do. This film turns 10 years old next year, so maybe I can review it in celebration of its 10th anniversary. Wow, it's gonna be 1 decade old.
So I just figured I'd chill out on the roof for a while.
I'm gonna find you, kid!
I like this one more than the original Frozen because it's a lot more organized. The animation is even better than the first one. And hey, Elsa is likable? What are the odds? Also, just a random fun fact, each of the 4 Frozen movies take place in a different season. The original takes place in summer, Frozen Fever took place in spring, Olaf's Frozen Adventure was in the winter, and Frozen 2 is in the fall. I like how even though Frozen 2 is only 1 film higher up and 1 above the original Frozen, Frozen 2 is a higher letter ranking. A B-tier film that's a 6 out of 10. Oh, and I just want to point out that Ryder is voiced by Jason Ritter, most known for Dipper in Gravity Falls.
Whoa! I have a really big head.
And the fact that he gives Kristoff terrible dating advice just makes me think that it really is just Dipper in disguise. I find it funny that the main 3 actors of Gravity Falls not only worked on Amphibia, but also each did their own thing in one division each of Disney. Kristen Shaw was in Pixar.
Who's Velocistar 237?
Oh, that's just a... Let me just take care of that. Just a dinosaur.
Alex Hirsch on Fox.
Buy crypto, suckers!
And of course, Jason Ritter in Disney Canon. I kinda still have a couple of problems with this film. Not as much as Frozen, but still worth mentioning. What's wrong with Elsa destroying the buildings of Arendelle? It's not like she'd be killing anybody. The buildings are empty!
It'll be empty, you idiot!
And I kind of find it weird that Kristoff just gets written off just to hang out with Dipper Pines. But the good still definitely outweighs the bad. I died of laughter when Sven started singing. That was something that I never would have expected. And the fact that Jonathan Groff also sings for Sven just makes this all the more hilarious. And I really love Olaf's recap. Best joke in the whole movie right here.
Well, at least they have their parents. Their parents are dead.
Speaking of Frozen 2, I am aware of how rushed this film was and how much of a production trouble it had. But like Toy Story 2, I think it still ended up good, even though, of course, Toy Story 2 is way better. But as bad as the people on this film were overworked for Disney's capitalistic ways, I would still be proud of working on the highest grossing anime movie of all time. I would talk more about this film, but we're just entering the second half of this list. Let's finish the final hour.
I want to know what happened to them.
She's gone! Home on the range! Next!
Home on the Range is a movie that I personally love that a lot of people hate that I don't understand the hate for. This film and Chicken Little are like the two most hated Disney movies, and I never was bothered by this film. People say it's bad because of burp jokes and gross out humor. What? Maybe it's just because I've been around the block and seen way grosser shit over the years, but Home on the Range doesn't come across as gross. It's a fun, simple adventure of the cows and their farm life.
But then they find out that the farm is being
closed down! This is a meme from the movie and I love it. Patrick Warburton is a horse. Now that I think about it, imagine if Tangled, they gave Maximus the voice of Patrick Warburton.
What? You son of a bitch! There are many like it, but this one is mine!
That honestly would have made Tangled better. Home on the Range is proof of that. My favorite character in the movie is Alameda Slim. He is what makes this film fun. If he had more screen time, this could have easily been in the top 10. And don't you ever mock his yodeling.
I yodel, and yodeling is an art!
Maybe they just didn't like your yodeling.
I don't sing.
Winnie the Pooh is a cute 2011 film that sadly gets shafted by everyone. I reviewed it twice, which both I took down for the former that was affected by COPPA, and the latter was downvoted because of some controversy that's not important to hear. But oh well! Third time's the charm, am I right?
I just feel down in the tumpity-tump because I have no tater family. Here, look at my fucking family.
I think this movie is funny and cute. Owl's still an ass. But a funny ass when he takes Pooh's pot, especially when he eats it right in front of him. Hey Disney, if you wanted this film to be successful, maybe next time don't release it on the same weekend as Deathly Hallows Part 2. That's probably why Winnie the Pooh didn't do so well. And that's a shame because it's got colorful visuals, fun songs, and great fourth wall jokes. I love how they use the letters in the book to get out of the hole. And I love Tom Kenny voicing Rabbit in this. He's not as good as the other actors that played him, but I'm just happy in the end seeing Tom Kenny play in a Disney Canon 2D film.
Owl?
What?
I can't believe how wonderful that speech was.
I can't either.
Move me to tears.
How very thoughtful you are, Piglet.
I only wish to have a coat made out of puppies.
You're not helping.
This movie's villain is ridiculously funny. I want to kill a bunch of puppies to make a nice fur coat! What kind of person do you have to grow up to be like that? Oh, wait. They made a horrible live-action movie on that. Yeah, don't answer that question next time, please. Making Cruella sympathetic is probably one of the worst things that Disney has ever done. I think Frollo could be more sympathetic. Luckily, the 1961 version just actually has a really fun time. The best part of the movie is when Roger Radcliffe writes a song on her.
A spider waiting for the kill.
Roger,
Look
she'll
out
hear
for
you.
Cruella.
I originally thought that Perdita gave birth to 101 puppies, but really she just gave birth to 15, which oddly enough isn't too far-fetched. Dogs do give birth to an average of 1 to 12 puppies, so Perdita doing 15 was only slightly above average. The other 84 puppies that they find were kidnapped by Horace and Jasper, and I gotta say, these two were way funnier than I was expecting them to be.
Do you suppose they disguise themselves? Say now, Horace, that's just what they did. Self black. You idiot!
And before I move on, I want to talk about the cat Sergeant Tibbs. This guy is so cute. He doesn't have much screen time in the movie, but oddly enough, he's my favorite character. It's funny how a movie focused on dogs has a cat as the best character. Maybe it's just because I'm a cat person and not much of a dog person. Or maybe Tibbs helps out because it's the right thing to do. How often do you see in pieces of media a cat just helping out dogs because it's the right thing to do? Probably never. Cats and dogs are usually mortal enemies. Yet in this movie, Tibbs helps out and I love it. He's such a good guardian for the puppies. And I really do love the last third act of the film, like the blizzard scene. It's a fun movie. I also would recommend the one recent 101 Dalmatian Street. It's like a better version of the Loud House.
Hercules, Hercules, Hercules.
Did you know that for the Disney movie Hercules, Hades was based off of Jeffrey Katzenberg? They didn't like how he was at the Walt Disney Company, so they decided to mock him in a film after he was fired. Wow, if I had a nickel for every time that I did a parody of Island Psy, I would have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right? Hercules is a fun movie. I love all the fights that Hercules has to prove that he's strong, especially the Hydra. Perfect 3D blend with 2D characters. Danny DeVito's Phil is awesome as ever. Susan Egan does a great job as Megara. Also, she was the voice of Pink Diamond in Steven Universe. And she was also Belle on Broadway. So, those are 2 interesting characters. Megara herself is also a lot more fun than I remember.
I'll be alright. I'm a big tough girl. I tie my own sandals and everything. Looks like your game's over. Wonder Boy's hitting every curve you throw at him.
I love the God stuff, and how both parents are alive in this. First time in a couple of decades they had that, if I'm correct. One thing that's interesting to me about Pain and Panic is that I remember them always being cowards because of this movie.
We are worms! Worthless worms!
But in actuality, they can be just as cool as Hades himself. But the reason that they aren't with him is them being afraid. But when Hades is out of the picture, they show off their true powers of the underworld.
Hades is gonna kill us when he finds out what happened.
You mean if he finds out?
If is good.
And even on House of Mouse, they are shown to be threatening.
Relax, no conscience on your shoulder now.
Yeah, you got termites funnier than him.
Why is House of Mouse now on Disney Plus? Mowgli begins his journey through the lion.
The Jungle Book is an underrated film. It's kind of like the first ever road trip movie. You know how almost every anime movie nowadays is more or less a road trip? Well, this was kind of one of the first. It goes to different locations in the jungle to reach the man, and we get to see different characters along the way, including elephants that act like they're part of military, 2 monkeys that want fire, 2 Winnie the Pooh as a snake.
Trust in me.
Yes, that's Sterling Holloway. Winnie the Pooh will always be more threatening than the Black Widow. The Jungle Book is a fun, simple movie that gets way too much hate. Also, I love how the Vultures are a parody of the Beatles. They wanted the Beatles to voice them, but they refused. But these are still good voices, and Shere Khan is a good threat.
I'm going to close my eyes and count to 10. It makes the chase more interesting.
Search me.
That's an excellent idea.
And one last thing to close this off on. It's from the book The 9 Old Men. To speed up what the book is about the OG animators for films from Walt Disney's time. To actually quote the book from the Frank Thomas section, the boy gradually takes a liking to this carefree bear, and a beautiful friendship begins. Frank animated those poignant scenes, which rival any relationship from any live action film. Wow, this was before the live action movie, and yet it gave it a burn.
We could still blame Waffle.
The Aristocats is overhated. The only bad part is the racist scene, which is still offensive to this day, even with the same voice actor for Tigger doing the song.
Shanghai, Hong Kong, Fuyang.
But if you take that out, you have a fun adventure. This film has the most ridiculous Disney villain ever, and I love it. The butler really thought that the woman would have given all of her fortune to the cat. It's not so much that in general that makes it good, but his reaction to it is what makes it perfect.
No, George, to my cats. To your cats?
That's funny to me. I really love these 2 dogs, with the one that apparently knows everything based on the sound, except the color, of course.
What color are they? Well, they're black. Now, how would I know that?
And yeah, that's about it. I just love cute cat shenanigans. But that might just be my bias for me loving cats more than dogs. Look at that. She's so cute.
The cuss am I? Are you cussing with me?
The Fox and the Hound is a sad movie, but still written very well. I think it's got a lot of good emotional moments, and I love the bonding of Copper and Todd. I do love the relationship that Todd has with his owner, and how well it's contrasted by that old man and how horribly he treats his dogs. Well, not horribly, but not as good as the woman. The bear scene was intense. It's just a very emotional movie, and I do cry every time that I watch this one, though it's still more fun than previous Disney films that were sad.
You want to hurt me? Go right ahead if it makes you feel any better.
Yes, this movie is still good. I'm like the only actual person to really love this movie, big critic-wise. I think I stated most of what I wanted to last year, like last year on this day on my overall thoughts on this film. It's a great movie that you should check out. I love the animation in this movie, the characters are fun overall, John Candy does a great job playing the seagull, Bernard honestly does a better marriage proposal than Kristoff in Frozen 2. Because Bernard goes through more of an arc than Kristoff. And lastly, Jeffrey Katzenberg shit talking again. Did you know that he pulled the advertisements for this movie? He thought it wasn't profitable since it didn't do well on its opening weekend.
I said, Jeffrey, I just can't believe that you've pulled it. There's no advertising, nothing. And he said, Tom, the movie doesn't work.
This baby frog is sad.
You know, if I had a nickel for every time that Anika, Nani Rose, and Keith David were in something for Disney that just happened to star frogs, I would have 2 nickels.
Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
I love using that Doofenshmirtz line a lot. It's my favorite Phineas and Ferb quote, and I follow the rule of 3 when it comes to writing and comedy. So that should be the last time that I use it in this video. I love this movie. It's the only 2000s Disney musical. It's a bop. I don't know why Disney didn't do more musicals like this. It's got great visuals, and it has an actual death. I thought it was gonna be a fake out death at first, but it luckily wasn't. I like the bog scene. Almost There is one of the best Disney songs. Charlotte and Big Daddy LaBeouf are some of the most fun characters in this movie. Any character that John Goodman voices is usually good, man. I love this pun.
Stella, no. Okay, just one.
Good note to end Disney 2D animation on. Yeah, it's better than the Winnie the Pooh 2011 film. If you love 2D Disney musicals, this is a must-see. It's not the best at that, but at least we ended them off good. Space Whales! Hey, what do you know? The sequel to the film from 60 years prior to this one is actually much better. You know what? I'm gonna do this Jello style. A YouTuber coined this term named Jello Apocalypse, where you rank something out of 10, or negative 10. A negative 10 is as good as a positive 10. It's just that a negative means an ironic enjoyment, like you can make fun of it. Oh, and I gotta review each segment in 10 words or less. Okay, let's go. I don't like the avant-garde genre much. Beautiful CGI whales still hold up over 20 years later. I wish Class of 3000 was animated more like this. Well, it's at least better than Tin Toy. Not a flamingo person, though fun to make fun of. Blatant repeat from before, but it was the best one. The unicorn, dragon, and griffin laughing is the best part. Animation beauty. It's simply gorgeous.
2 worlds, 1 family.
Guy. Tarzan is essentially a better version of the Jungle Book. I think Tarzan is a lot more fun and has more relatable characters. The vine scene is genius. You take surfing, now make it into the jungle. This is wild, and way better than standard vine swinging. Turk is actually a character that I ended up loving. For some reason, everyone hates her. Rosie O'Donnell I heard is not funny, but I don't know. I didn't hate her performance.
Oh, there he is! He's alive! Oh, no, come back! Come back!
Speaking of performances, I also love Wayne Knight's performance. Did you know they used in Toy Story 2 the exact same year? So he was in 2 big Disney movies in the same year.
Come on, pick up the phone. It's me, it's Al. I got an emergency here.
My favorite line from him is when he tells Turk off.
Lads, I've had it with you and your emotional constipation. Tarzan needs us, and we're gonna help him. Now pipe down and hang on tight. We've got a boat to catch.
Also, I love the piranha fact. And the elephant saying that has Squidward's voice.
Piranha! It's a piranha! Sweetheart, there are no piranhas in Africa.
She's right. They're native to South America.
And one last thing for now. This.
If I can teach a parrot to sing God Save the Queen, I can certainly teach this savage a thing or two.
Who did he teach this to? Yago? That would be funny to see. Also, I love the little animation reel that they have in this movie. That's a little nice touch.
Behold, my beloved Atlantis.
Atlantis is pretty awesome. I love a lot of the blended 3D environments within this 2D movie. It's probably the best 2D film to do this blend. I would have put this in the top 10 had the opening and the first act really been better. It's a bit too slow in my opinion. But what makes this film amazing is the cast of characters. It's why I love the second and third act much more. Getting to Atlantis and Atlantis in itself are just so much fun. But anything before the boat stuff, not really. Although it's so weird just hearing Michael J. Fox in this, like, I was not prepared to hear him in a Disney movie. Of the crew, Vinny is my personal favorite. Maybe it's just because I love all the bomb stuff, or because he talks like this. It's just all hilarious to me. He says everything with a deadpan, and I think his sarcasm is the best. Not to mention, I just love how he just wants to open a flower shop. It's so damn hilarious.
I'm gonna reopen the flower shop, and I'm gonna think of you guys Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
Saturday till 2. Better take Sunday off, probably. In August, I'm gonna take August. Wait a second. Okay, now you can go.
The mole is also a fun character. I love his obsession with dirt. I can see why they used this character in the trailer. Lyle is a very good twist villain. Rewatching this film again for this video, he actually does have a good build-up. In fact, with the exception of Treasure Planet, he might just be Disney's best non-Pixar twist villain.
There were not supposed to be people down here. This changes everything.
This changes nothing.
See, that there is a good build-up.
You promised me a percentage!
Next time, get it in writing.
Honestly, I would have had him say this.
You promised me a percentage!
I did. 0 is a percent. Honestly, the whole main cast was fun. I even love these little evil assistants with the mask on. They kind of remind me of the masked people benders in The Legend of Korra. The only characters that I wasn't a big fan of were the Atlanteans. Maybe it's just because we didn't spend a lot of time with them. If we had more, they would have been better. By the way, I just want to point out that I found a knockoff to Atlantis called Atlantis, the Underwater City. This relates to nothing with the review. I just found it when writing the script here.
Here comes Sleeping Beauty!
Did you know that for Sleeping Beauty, Hasbro wanted to name a villain in their show, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, Aurora, but they couldn't because Disney owned the copyright to Aurora. So Hasbro instead changed the name of their villain to Starlight. Yeah, that's all I ever knew about this film prior. 2 things, the Star Glimmer fact and the character Maleficent. Which is strange because this does feel like a film that I would have watched in my childhood, but I just didn't. It's still fun, the villain is fun, even if her only reason for turning into an evil dragon was not being invited to a birthday party. Actually, that's kind of funny to me. Oh, you didn't invite me into the birthday party of the newborn? Well, I'll curse this child! When she turns 16. I love the 3 fairies fighting over magic colors, and they're good caretakers, which is fun to think about when you realize that this is the first Disney Canon film to have both parents alive. Disney only had 9 movies in their entire lifetime with both of the parents alive. Also, I gotta point out this ironic line that never gets old.
Now, Father, you're living in the past. This is the 14th century.
Or we could do our chores.
Zootopia has aged a bit weirdly for me. Let's start with the bad to get my point across. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to feel about cops anymore. They're supposed to stop the bad, and I still agree with that statement. But ever since the start of this decade, reality has had an unhealthy relationship with the police. Yeah, I get it, that's 4 years after this movie, but still. In reality, we had to deal with things like hashtag all cops are bad. And even into this year, we still have that problem with how many deadly shootings in America alone with the cops doing nothing about it. And it kind of happens in this movie. The police have been trying to find these 15 mammals for a long time with 0 progress. And the one to find them all was this random cute little bunny that's barely a cop. Oh, and Judy? I've been trying to figure out how the word is for a while, but I have no other way to say it. Rabbits don't quote-unquote own the word cute.
I gotta tell you, you are even cuter than I thought you'd be.
You probably didn't know, but a bunny can call another bunny cute, but when other animals do it, it's a little...
Oh my god!
Like, Zootopia has plenty of other cute animals. You're telling me that I can't call gerbils cute? How about the Arctic shrew? I think they're cute. Why are rabbits the only ones to use it? And the nudist scene is debatable. I don't call myself a furry. I don't know if furries only enjoy the scene. I kind of feel like Judy throughout all of this. But at the same time, Tommy Chung was funny. Luckily, Zootopia has a lot of good that still makes it in the A tier. I like Judy and Nick's friendship. I think it's even better than Aladdin and Jasmine, despite me liking the film Aladdin more. Every joke with them lands. And yes, Nick, blowing a train horn is on my bucket list as well. Nick and Judy are a great dynamic. I know Try Everything doesn't have the best lyrics in the world, and the person who wrote it is a piece of shit. But it still sounds good to me. I sing it every time that I hear it. Judy thankfully does state the message better.
Try to make the world a better place.
I'm glad that she did that because otherwise the message comes across as yeah, not that good. This film has other flaws like the friendship split and Bellwether as a twist villain, but I still think this is an amazing film. Also, since I'm done with Zootopia for now, I heard that there will be a series this fall on Disney Plus called Zootopia Plus. I think that might interest me. I'll check it out once it comes out. It could be a good show, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Oh yeah, Snow White and Stupid Town.
I don't recommend drugs to people, ever.
Drugs can kill, and if you do drugs, you go to hell before you die.
But if there was a movie that you should take drugs to, it's this one. This one is one giant acid trip, and that's all that I'm really gonna say about this movie. It's lovely. Everything works. From Alice turning into a giantess, to the funny Queen of Hearts and her pathetic husband King. Easily the best part of that is when the White Rabbit even has a low opinion on him.
Your Majesty, members of the jury, loyal subjects, and the king.
And how can anyone not love Sterling Holloway doing the Cheshire Cat?
Can you stand on your head?
I don't mind all this being a dream because this story was never meant to be taken seriously. We all have been kids. We've all had gigantic dreams that we thought we lived. We had fun. At least I did when I was a kid. This movie makes a flamingo a croquet mallet and has a lot of fun with it. The Mad Hatter in the March Hare with tea is one of the best Disney scenes ever. It's so magical and fun. If you haven't seen this movie yet, what's stopping you? You need this movie.
Winnie the Pooh? Wait half a darn minute.
So, apparently I have a very unpopular opinion on Winnie the Pooh that I was not aware about. But I love Sterling Holloway as Winnie the Pooh, and I think he's the best Pooh. While at the same time, I think the best Tigger is Jim Cummings, which is like the exact opposite of everybody else. They think that Jim Cummings is the better Pooh and that Paul Winchell is the better Tigger. Maybe if I put my two favorite versions together, you'll understand it better.
I just said to myself coming along thinking and wondering if you had such a thing as a balloon about you.
Hello, I'm Tigger. That's T-I-double-G-R, and that's me.
I like the original Pooh more because it feels more innocent and reminds me of the good parts of my childhood. And Jim Cummings' Tigger just has the best positive energy. I kind of feel bad for the Winnie the Pooh franchise as a whole when it comes to critics. It's not so much that it gets unnecessary hate, it's more on the lines that people just don't seem to really care about this franchise. They just see it and say, eh. Like they think that Winnie is a throwaway franchise and not important to Disney. Which is sad because the Winnie the Pooh cartoon is the first television cartoon I have ever seen. And this 1977 movie was the first ever thing that I saw of Winnie the Pooh. This just might have been the 5th animated movie that I have ever seen, and 5 is my favorite number. But this isn't the best Winnie the Pooh thing ever. That goes to the Tigger movie. Speaking of which, I still love this deleted joke from my best friend Yo Jack's 10 that I wrote.
Oh, I hope nobody answers.
Hello, I'm Tigger.
You scared me.
Everyone's scared of Tiggers.
This movie still has 3 fun stories. I love how the gopher wasn't even from the book and even points it out in the film.
I'm not in the book, but I'm at your service.
I keep forgetting that Tigger was introduced later in life and not originally, which is why he's not part of the theme song or the first featurette. Luckily, the 2011 film fixes that.
And Kanga and Little Woo. And Tigger too.
Technically speaking, this is the last film that Walt Disney worked on for the Disney canon. He worked on the first one and partially the second. This is still a very fun and cute film, and I still watch it every now and then. Go watch it if you haven't. It's classic. It is Winnie the Pooh. I can see why this film is magical. I don't buy the fact that people say that Ariel is wrong for wanting to give up her soul to Ursula.
Agree.
She's a teenager that just lost everything from her controlling father. I think Ariel has more than every right to act like this. I personally think that Cinderella did this slightly better, but we'll get to that entry later on in this list. This film is still amazing. It's full of amazing musicals, beautiful animation. I really thought it was like made in the 50s at first with how old it looked, but no, it was 1989. If you haven't checked this film out, I would highly recommend it. Also, at the time of me recording this, Pat Carroll, the voice of Ursula, has sadly passed away. She was a goddamn queen. Dragon! Mulan 2020 is a terrible movie that understands nothing about China. And you'd think with how terrible this remake is, it will make the original bad. But nope, in reality, the original still holds up. It's a great film about a woman saving her country trying to bring honor to her father, and there's no feminist bullshit. This film also has an amazing soundtrack, from I'll Make a Man Out of You, to A Girl Worth Fighting For, to my favorite song of the film that put me in tears, Reflection. Specifically this lyric here. Damn, that part is deep. Speaking of deep, Sean Yu has my favorite design for a Disney villain. While other villains are campy or more silly looking, this one looks flat out more serious. Easily the best part with him is when he has one of his henchmen kill an innocent man just because he didn't want two people to deliver a message.
How many men does it take to deliver a message? One.
My favorite part of the film is, well, a lot, damn. But if I had to pick, it's the village part, where all these kooky, silly soldiers sing about some girl that they want to marry suddenly stop singing, only for them to see all the dead soldiers. Yeah, it's almost as if war is scary, and a lot is lost in it, like your family. As we see, Li Shang's father didn't make it. This is a great movie because it balances serious situations as well as comedy perfectly. Oh, and to end this one off, Mushu was the funniest character in this one.
In 1998, they had this promotion for the Disney film Mulan, where they created a new sauce for the McNuggets called Szechuan sauce, and it's delicious.
Yikes! And away!
Robin Hood is a lot more relevant in today's world than it has any right to be. With all the political nonsense in the world, hearing Amazon do things like not allowing employees to take any bathroom or lunch breaks just so the greedy corporate company can make more money sounds a lot like this. And it sucks that we're teaching children that abusers like this are good people, when in reality, our kids should be saying what Skippy says. And I know that the rich should be taxed more and not the poor, but every time that us poor people do the right thing, the rich in response say, Actually, it's funny that Disney in film is fine with promoting this awful propaganda nowadays, when in their television department, it's more like Robin Hood, where modern cartoons mock capitalism.
I would just like to say that as a rich capitalist, I welcome your tyrannical rule.
Oh wow, that's a great offer! How about instead I shuffle the functions of every hole in your face?
It's as if embezzling money from the town makes you the bad guy.
1,000 snails? What kind of game are you playing?
Capitalism, where everyone wins except you.
Hey, wouldn't you rather, I don't know, have a beach day?
Maybe if we had time for 20 more adventures, but we don't.
I was honestly surprised how much I love Robin Hood. It could be mirroring current political events like gun violence and abortion bans, but I don't think so, because this movie actually does feel timeless. It could be talking about events of the past, the time it was made in, or it could be talking about right now. Heck, it could probably even talk about events in the future. And even if you ignore the political stuff, it's just a fun movie overall. I really love the Archer game, the football fight scene that comes out of nowhere, the prison escape, and even Robin's romance. And none of that has anything to do with politics. I can't believe that this film only has 15 minutes of original animation, because this film looks gorgeous. This is why the animation in your animation is the least important thing, and why the writing and especially the characters will forever be infinitely more important. I mean, I can notice some obvious repeats like Snow White and the Aristocats, but it doesn't bother me at the end of the day. I can't believe I ended up loving this more than the original Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh was originally higher, but watching this film again now made it the highest A-tier film. It's a 9 out of 10 film. My only real complaint is probably just some of the lackluster animation at parts, but again, it's still masked good. And now, we move on to the S tier. All of these films are 10 out of 10s. These 10 films are some of my favorite films of all time. But before I do that, one last thing that I want to say for Robin Hood. Robin Hood is the best film from the 1970s. Despite the 1970s being the worst decade ever for animation, just know that it had a few hidden gems amongst the sea of shit. And remember, kids,
eat the rich!
We gotta go back to the beginning of the story.
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was the first ever animation that I have ever seen in my entire life. Like, the first animation that I ever saw. Now, obviously I've seen it several times since. I even have the video VHS tape version from 1984. The first ever release of the film on VHS. And it was the Disney film that took the longest to get a home release. It was an heirloom from my grandfather who loved Disney just as much as me. He sadly passed away 5 years ago in 2017. Rest in peace, Grandpap. Everyone always seems to claim this movie is good because it was the first! But there's more than just that. It can be scary, what with Snow White almost being murdered by Humbert. I am always scared of that scene, and even the chase afterwards with her going into the forest with all the scary faces. I mean, she was about to get murdered. That's very scary and traumatizing. Why do people say this is not scary? This is very scary. And yet, I saw this when I was 0. The queen in herself is scary. Like, she even made one of her men die of thirst. I love the music in this. I usually sing hi-ho when I am done at work. The dance scene was really cute. I hate how people just call this fluff. But honestly, the quote-unquote fluff is the most fun in this movie. I can't believe that Disney almost sacrificed his entire company and his car and house for this. Dopey is my favorite of the 7 dwarves. I love his cute little shenanigans. Maybe someday I'll do a full-on animation review of this movie, because it is a personal favorite of mine. You could even say that the S tier stands for the Snow White tier. Oh, and I also love the vultures. They're very scary looking. And I love the prince with the kiss. Like, I even like his appearance when he comes in, just going, "Today!" It's all funny to me. And I like the little scene at the end. Like I know a lot of people say, this started the death fake outs, but I don't mind it here, because it was built up in a nice way. Also, people kiss quote-unquote corpses and honor them, not because of romance. Like I said, someday I do want to do a full animation review on this, because I really do love this movie. What a beautiful romance story. A film that was in and out of the studio several times in terms of production finally was brought to the screen in the age of the Renaissance. There is so much to talk about this film. Where are the strong leads in Belle and the Beast? The flamboyant yet still threatening villain Gaston? The songs that never leave your head, and the groundbreaking animation, especially with the ballroom sequence? It's so beautiful.
I'm respecting your privacy by knocking, but asserting my authority as your father by coming in anyway.
Haha! Take that, internet! I already made a video on this movie last year that, believe it or not, still manages to hold up to this day. Yes, a pre-2022 video of mine that is still a video so good I still recommend it to this day. So if you want me to go more fully in depth with this, go there for my full opinion. But if you haven't seen it yet, or if you saw it and still want me to recap regardless, let's go ahead and do that right now. This movie is gorgeous. Ralph and Vanellope's friendship is really sweet but also put to the test. The comedy is downright hilarious and the internet culture surprisingly isn't dated. Spamly is always fun with Bill Hader doing an incredible performance. The Disney princesses are all fun coming together, and it was great seeing them save the day. Plus, the Alan Menken song was fun, and an actual good subversion.
Great summary, Rebecca.
No problem, Jack.
I don't like this movie.
Wait, didn't I kill you in my video on you last year of Ralph Breaks the Internet?
I was hurt, but you never killed me, and I returned to normal size.
Oh man, now I'm not looking like a giantess.
Get away, it's movie forever.
But didn't we state that it was fine to do that in the original review?
Kill?
Yes, let me show you.
Not every film is perfect, not even the sequel. But honestly, the rest of the film is so much fun that I don't mind if it has a little problem. And you didn't even praise the first film even though there's a flaw. You don't always have to love a film to get every detail right. You can sometimes enjoy it when having a great experience in spite of flaws. Because it all counts on enjoyment. Oh, okay. But you'll never take me alive! Ha ha! Ow! Ha! You did that to yourself! Jeez, what a crybaby.
He sure is. Hee hee.
But you'll never get rid of me, ever!
Yeah, boy.
Treasure?
Yeah, baby?
Bring me a grape wine.
Let me ask you if this sounds familiar. I use this for my top 10 movie openings often. This is a Pogo song for Treasure Planet, and it's honestly a perfect song for the film. Treasure Planet is a beautiful movie. It's also the only Disney Canon film to have both parents alive, but not together. Yeah, divorce/separation doesn't exist in the other ones. You're either dead or still alive together. Nothing in between. Treasure Planet is a fun, adventurous movie. It's like an imaginative, fun child was given a giant budget and just expressed their imagination into film. It's a blast. John Silver is an amazing twist villain, because he still cares for Jim, even with the gold at stake. And that red guy is very scary. This is just a stupendous film.
I like salt!
Wow, 2 movies in a row that are from 2002. What are the odds? You know, I could write a whole essay on what makes Lilo and Stitch amazing, but come on, it's beautiful. That's why. Lilo and Stitch has some of the best chemistry in any film that I've ever seen. It's not dark and depressing like Hunchback, and it's not confusing like Tangled. Only a few films on this list made me cry. Meet the Robinsons, Lilo and Stitch, and the #1 choice are the only 3 to do so. And it's probably the best Disney canon film in existence to not have parents. As in, the best explanation. A lot of Disney canon films had the parents dead without a good explanation, or they could be fixed with a little bit of tweaking in the writing. Lilo and Stitch handled it perfectly well. That scene of Stitch learning the truth had me in tears. And it does actually affect Lilo. The best scene in the whole movie to showcase her grief and problems is when she beats up that bitch. You know the scene I'm talking about.
You're crazy.
Please!
Did you know that I didn't grow up with this film, but I did with the TV show? Same thing with The Lion King. And for a fun fact for this movie, the flying scene at the end had to change due to the original looking too similar to the events of 9/11. And Disney didn't want children to learn the horrors of that day. That's actually why Monsters Inc. changed the scene to make people not think of 9/11. It was so good that people wrote letters to Disney thanking them for getting their minds off the horrors of our world. If I had to pick anything from Lilo and Stitch, I would say that I'm not a big fan of the Child Protective Services plot and the people from the agency. That's the only reason why it's not in the top 5. But it's still a supreme 10 out of 10 S-tier film. Go watch it if you haven't yet. It's amazing, funny, and beautiful.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god!
The Emperor's New Groove. Baby, this is the funniest Disney canon film. 10 out of 10 for me. But the reason why it's not the #1 best is because I like a little variety in my films. And while comedy is the best genre and forever be the best genre, and this film is just fantastic at comedy, everything from the fourth wall jokes to Bucky popping that balloon only for the Emperor to go, ha! And then all those panthers go after him. It's always hilarious to me. But a film just doing nothing but laughs is not enough to be the absolute best. Though to be fair, there are definitely other aspects of this movie that are amazing. It's very pretty, the acting is also top notch. Everyone knows Patrick Warburton as Kronk. It's his most iconic character ever.
Well, he's not as dead as we would have hoped. Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
That or Joe Swanson from Family Guy. But Patrick did a couple of roles from Disney. He was like every teacher on Kim Possible now that I think about it. And I think the 4 above this one, especially Aladdin, have a better variety of storytelling. But this film has one thing the best, and that of course is that Yzma is awesome.
I win.
But there's even something even better than that. And that of course is Cusco is best Disney princess. Boom!
Happy birthday, and all your dreams come true.
It's your birthday!
We're gonna get old walking across this thing.
I still really love this film. It basically does everything right that a film should. I kinda said everything that I need to last year today on my top 25 best anime movies of the 90s list. Jeffrey Katzenberg being a piece of shit on this.
Lion King, on the other hand, I want to say it's kind of an experiment. I mean, we don't really know if anybody truly wants to see it.
Scar being a great villain.
Long live the king.
And of course, Hakuna Matata. And the message of this movie is still infinitely better than Frozen ever could be. The Lion King is still an amazing film. It always will be to me.
Ooh, Rarity, your glass slipper. Now your prince is sure to find you.
My favorite Disney princess, the more that I think about it. This was the 3rd animation that I have ever seen. Cinderella is a film that tells you that if you're a victim of abuse, you don't need to change. And that's something that we need more of in 2022. And then I remember that this film came out in 1950. 72 years later, this message has aged like fine wine, but the remakes would age like milk. And before you ask, yes, I like Cinderella 3. The horrors that Cinderella pull up with in the original are an atrocity, but she pulls through and still ends up on top. Cinderella never wanted much. All she needed was one night out to find the right guy, and she did. She got everything that she ever wanted and more. Also, the king is a very fun guy. I love how he just wants grandkids. And the
I always wanted to do that.
Hey yo, it's Aladdin. I can't get enough of this film. It's the second funniest Disney Canon film, but this one offers more variety with the storytelling. And the genius works of Robin Williams as the genie. His timing is beyond perfect. I love the very fast comedy type. Rest in peace Gilbert Godfrey and Robin Williams, of course. Oh yeah, Yago's very funny. But these two were very beloved by people. Jafar is a very funny villain. Probably the best of the villains in the canon. I love how he makes puns.
I'm just getting warmed up.
Remember when Disney villains were fun? I miss that. One last mention, Jasmine is a great princess. Incredibly kind-hearted, but also feisty. Unlike something where Mulan's like, yeah, screw the safety of China, these princes should marry for... Okay, someone should screenshot this in the text, because I don't even know how you would pronounce this. The bit with Jasmine is that it's only an arranged marriage and that's it. And Jasmine wanting to marry for love is played out much better. And I love how she calls out those who try to force her marriage. Even Jafar feels guilty too.
How dare you? All of you, standing around deciding my future? I am not a prize to be won.
Also, the 2019 remake sucks. The end. And now, after all this time, after going through this list for an entire year of watching Disney Canon films, looking at them over and over again to rank all of them, here it is. The final film.
Salute me, familia.
You might remember me saying this earlier. Comparing this to Encanto is like night and day. Yes, I was foreshadowing it in my own ranking. Thank you for noticing. Encanto is the best film that Disney ever made, not because it's anything new, but rather it takes things from previous Disney films and makes them better. Like, I'm still amazed how this is the polarized film of Raya, the exact opposite in a good way. There's no lore shit or any terrible redemptions in this film, just actual interpersonal relationships for all ages that end up being very good. Encanto has a very amazing cast of characters, and every time I watch this film, I keep noticing new things that make it even better. Even rewatching the scenes that I already love, I can start appreciating them more and more each time I watch it. For example, there's this one scene early in the film with Mirabel comforting Antonio. Antonio is worried about himself not getting a gift, and Mirabel says this.
That's gonna make me way more happy than anything.
It's a very nice serious scene, but then it ends up being better when the house intervenes with a little nice joke.
Listen, what are your powers? Just tell us what everyone can do!
And that's why coffee's for grown-ups.
And the whole movie has moments like that, and that's what makes it amazing. Speaking of the comedy, there's always plenty of jokes in this movie. But if I had to pick the absolute funniest scene in the movie, it's basically the whole part of the dinner scene. Especially the eye stares. Oh, and the part leading up to the dinner scene was also good.
No one has to know. I know.
Encanto is just a fun movie overall. And hey, both of the parents are alive. You might call that unnecessary, but I call that refreshing. Why? Because I have more fingers in total than the number of Disney Canon movies with both parents alive. That's not even me trying to make a joke. That's the honest 100% truth. Encanto is an even better version of Cinderella. While Cinderella did teach that victims of abuse don't need to change, it didn't bother really fixing Lady Tremaine. And that's fine for the plot, but I love it even more when the parent fixes their mistakes and becomes good in a good way. I also really love the music in this. Not one song is bad. Everyone talks about, we don't talk about Bruno, no. Ironically enough. I also hear it on the radio from time to time, even at my workplace. But the best song of the whole movie is Dos Oruguitas. This was the part of the movie that had me crying in the theater, because losing your family is very tragic. But Alma at the same time was able to save her children. Her husband's sacrifice brought that gift for a reason. Also, I want to point out that even Mirabel's dad, Augustin, stands up for his own daughter, Mirabel.
You saw the vision! Think of the family!
I was thinking of my daughter.
And the scene of Alma admitting that she was wrong to Mirabel was the best part of the movie. Because Alma kept saying that Mirabel was making this family fall apart. When in reality...
Don't you ever... The miracle is dying because of you!
The scene of them making up had me in tears because it's actual makeup. They're not doing it for a selfish act to break up. They're not doing it because they have to save the world if they don't. They're not doing it because someone is forcing them to. They're doing it because they genuinely feel remorse for their actions. And keep in mind, when I say something like that, obviously it was not Mirabelle's fault for anything. But at the same time, she did say things she did regret. But there was a reason for that. She had a right to be mad. If anything, it was Alma that just had to only apologize. Yeah, if anyone says that Mirabelle was in the wrong, go fuck yourself. Also, speaking of jokes, I want to do a Kermit impression joke with the fact when Mirabelle didn't get her door.
Oh, I wonder what Mirabelle's gift is going to be. Oh, it's fading away. Well, gee, Mirabelle, I guess, you're a disgrace to your family. You're awful. Yay!
I love the improv that Jackson just did. It had nothing to do with anything, but he was funny. I love Encanto. This is what I want the future of animation to be as a whole. Not just Disney. I want fun animations that all ages can love and even relate to, that do not have terrible characters or overuse of lore and adventure, but wholesome family stuff and beautiful character interactions. And I think that animation is starting to go in this direction. This year has been very amazing for animation. I hope that this trend continues on this path. This was torture. You know how in some videos I say, this video took an entire month to make, people? Yeah, well, this video took a year to make, people! I was not expecting this video to take as long as it did. I thought I was gonna get it done on Valentine's Day, but here it is, half a year later, and I only got it done in time by hiring editors in the last month. Give the new guys an extra round of applause. They deserve credit for saving this video. This video cost me over $300. I'm never doing a video this size again. At least for the rest of 2022. But if you ever want me to talk about any of these movies again, but more in depth, let me know in the comments down below. If there's enough people interested in said film, I'll do a animation review on it.
Hey, Rebecca?
Huh, kinda weird for you to appear at the very end of my video and nowhere else, but what's up, Becky?
I found this old witch hat. It has dust on it.
Oh, really? Wow, I remember this. It's been so long since I wore it.
Did you ever wear it?
You'd be surprised at the number of mistakes I made in my life.
Did you ever abuse anyone?
No. Never once in my life did I abuse anyone.
Really?
Yes. Hurting is one thing, abusing is another. But try telling that to people. I'm telling the 100% truth, but not everyone will believe me.
Adulthood is hard, isn't it?
You'd be surprised.
Can I wear this hat, Mommy? I bet I can bring it new purpose.
Sure thing, Becky.
Yay!
Togetherness for me means teamwork. All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. Thank you, Walt Disney. Be better today than yesterday. I'm Rebecca Starlight. Thank you for joining me.